Добрый день, дорогие друзья.
Hello, dear participants, dear friends. You are very welcome on our web class on Hidden Doctrine of Елена Petrovna Blavatsky. Dear friends, today we continue our systematic study of the Hidden Doctrine. The time has passed since the beginning of our year semester, and many participants from many countries of the world joined us. Many young people joined us. People from various countries joined our classes, all those who are interested in the work of Blavatsky, the Philippines, Canada, United Kingdom, the US, Bolivia, Niger, India, Japan, Levan, Spain, Finland, Norway, Germany, Indonesia, Greece, the Netherlands, Kazakhstan, Sri Lanka, Brazil, Mexico, Italy, and Colombia, and many other countries joined us. This means that so many people are interested in the Hidden Doctrine, and the interest has just grown over the years, which is a very nice sign. Today we are going to study the first stanza overall. This month helped us to get a look at the first part of that, and overall the first, second, etc. shlokas up to the 9th. And we decided together that the first stanza should be considered overall. We decided to go through it without any interruptions. And the system that helped us to consider this material helped us to create this class. Today's session is going to be a review of the first stanza of all 9 slokas. Dear friends, the first stanza is quite difficult in a way, because we are talking about unmanifested words, 3 of them, worlds. And the first stanza is very difficult to understand, difficult to apply in practice. But if we accept this system, the scientific foundation of all of that, if we accept that, if we accept the scientific basic of studies of the Hidden Doctrine, then we feel the certain rhyme in that. And we can apply that in our own life. We think that it is of crucial importance for everybody who joined us today. The whole team of our support team works today with us. Thank you so much, Alexander Brezhnev and Alexander Kuleshov, Mr. Yegorov and Mr. Butin as well. Thank you so much. And we also would like to express our gratitude to Alexandra Bobko and Tatiana Kostenko, who are interpreting our webinar today. You are working to express the concepts that are so difficult to express in other language. Thank you so much for your work, for your engagement and emotional participation every time when you join our seminars. Thank you so much for translating that and helping us to make this accessible to our English-speaking partners. Now we would like to congratulate everyone for joining us today, and we hope that the studies that we are going to have today will be, first of all, help us, that will be unifying, because the unified thought concentrating in one informational field helps us to do that. That is why it is so important to have these seminars that can help us to engage people from different ages, nationalities, countries. We can be united in one informational field, joined and combined by one unified desire to understand the origin, the source of the knowledge. When we study that, we have a foundation. We wish everyone fruitful work. Now we are going to start our class, and we are going to overview the first stanza, all the key accepts of all the 9 slokas. Now I would like to give the floor to Vladimir Yarov of Theosophical Society of Russia. Hello, everyone. Let's start right from the beginning. These 9 slokas of the first stanza have a kind of introduction. Madame Blavatsky mentioned that in prologue. Let's actually start from the beginning. Let's read at this abstract understanding, try to realize it. Let's try to remember the idea, the origins of all of that, what Madame Blavatsky advised us to do in order to understand and digest this material that is hard to digest. And first of all, let's say that Madame Blavatsky, in her life, being on this earth, was in Shambhala, and she became enshrined in some kind, and in her last manifestation, or next to last, and because of that, in the period of Oriental period, she actually gathered all these spheres into one thread, and that helped us to read all of that, and while reading it, we can understand that, and we can try to keep the thread that joins all of that. She tried to give us, provide us with that knowledge. And our task is to keep it in our consciousness, to keep all these spirals together on one thread without cutting the thread. So today's thought is as follows. Whoever, not being a sanctified person, pretends to be a saint, he is indeed the lowest of all men, the thief in all worlds, including that of Brahma. Here we see the planes of being as well. And the most important, whoever is not being a sanctified person pretends to be a saint, just imagine that. He is indeed the lowest of all men. So it's a very profound thought. Honestly, this thought actually sets a certain line, baseline that we cannot cross. I'm afraid every time and all the time to claim being a sanctified person. I'm just trying my best to follow the orders within my human capabilities. Actually, our capabilities are limited due to the karma law. Everybody created many things, and many things happened, And we are not saints, that's why we are on earth. But a saint can arrive on earth as a teacher. And here we see kind of a golden line with reddish colors as well. It is like a middle or golden section of our world that is manifested somehow in our soul. And it helps us not to get any exaggerations. Everybody has to have their own reply to this thought. The best option would be to reply today, because we have that opportunity. Now we will try to understand the combination of Nedans and to find a certain consensus, to find an agreement within ourselves in order to align with the qualities of Nedans, their provision and the concept behind that. If we do that, we will be able to find this field of action within our consciousness. In that area, we have many consciousness. They can be categorized in a certain way that are determined by Maya. In order to try to understand the hidden doctrine, knowing the combinations of Nedans provided by Madame Blavatsky on purpose, she provided us with hidden knowledge, which are called the knowledge of the spirit. That is why they are a secret. And Madame Blavatsky warns us that we have to develop intuition or the feeling of knowledge. That helps us to hear the voice of our spirit. And to do that, we need to be disciplined. Discipline our will. What is necessary here? Madame Blavatsky helps us to understand that. She introduces the teachers of humanity. There are images, photos as well, of she being surrounded by teachers, for example. What is the purpose? She says that they have keys to hidden knowledge, and they are guides. They help the humanity to develop. And by doing that, sending those impulses, every century sees an increase in knowledge. The knowledge is being funneled through such teachers, those who are carriers of the knowledge, and they determine the foundation of being in one way or another. So the first thing to happen is understanding of this guiding hand, accepting it. When we accept it, we discover ourselves to this light. We open ourselves to this light. And the light starts to integrate within ourselves, and we feel loyalty and admiration. I would say that those are certain vibrations that affect the spirit. We open our heart and we let the light to enter. The light of the hierarchy enters us and is resonated by the spirit. The spirit sparkles and flames with loyalty and admiration. In other words, it opened with love and with self-sacrifice. In that case, we can follow the orders and follow the guides. This means that we have a certain force of the spirit, which is called spiritual knowledge, because all the knowledge are concentrated in the spirit. They start, the knowledge starts to vibrate following this secret knowledge of the teachers. Then a harmony appears, a certain combination of sounds that sets the rhythm. When we accept this discipline, we follow the orders, we set a certain rhythm, which is aligned with the rhythm set by our teachers. And in that case, we start to discover the truth. But what is behind the Secret Doctrine? They say that Kala Chakra of the wheel of the time that manifests or reflects three worlds in the fourth. Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. Those three whales should be understood somehow, and we should live through them. And our understanding of that manifests through the knowledge of the spirit. We can reflect it in that way. And in that case, we can touch to distant words. And that's how we accepted those three words.
Личность свою, мы ее воспитали.
Our personality that we bring up. Mahayana is the way we deal with our psychic energy. And Vajrayana is the one we possess, that is possession of psychic energy. Mahayana, that HPP revealed to us in the Secret Doctrine, which is actually Mahayana teaching. And it's not a coincidence that in India she was called Bodhisattva. It's not a coincidence. One more great person, said that Madame Blavatsky was amazing. She knew Mahayana, and it's true. The one who has opened the eyes towards these teaching was one of the best representatives of the Theosophical Society, Vladimir Anatolievich Bakhanov. In 1987, the year of the fiery hair, he accepted this image. This knowledge is believed to be the highest from the point of view of us, inhabitants of the earth, and the lowest from the point of view of Shambhala or the heaven. Because people come there to Shambhala only when laws, cosmic laws, laws of nature are contained in the human consciousness, meaning that a person understands, is aware, and it is the only condition for him to be a co-operator with the other worlds or with the heaven. So today is the day of the Black Rooster, and this day of 1993, and the School of Theosophy headed by Mr. Bakanov emerged. Kalachakra was there already. It means that he already had this image and presented it almost in the same manner. And it was left to us to study Kalachakra and the Secret Doctrine, present plans of being according to Dhyan stanzas, and we were following this route that was already there for us. But if we mean today's day of the Black Rooster, opposite to this rooster is the black hare, and the black hare is the joy in response to the Black Rooster. We can say that the Black Rooster is the birth, and the black hare is the death. If we follow the cross of life, then after rooster, the next point is the point of the cross, and this point is the yellow mouse. The yellow mouse, or the earthy mouse, is the point of the cross of life. And by following from the rooster, we go to the yellow mouse, birth or rooster. After birth, we come to life, the yellow mouse. After that, we come to the black hare, death appears, and following death, as we reassess values, because the year of the rooster is the year when everything we were thinking of is revealed, because all reasons were put in there in the black rooster, and it's all revealed in the month of the black hare we're in right now. The black hare is the consequence of 1993, when the school was established. And it is not simply like that, because the black rooster is the logos, and this logos is the initial word that the God possessed, and the word was God. So it's a kind of an impetus, and this impetus is called logos. But these logos cannot be pronounced, and therefore this is potentiality of his vibrations, of this high thought and things we were thinking of, each of us were thinking of during this year. In this month, we all have the consequence. This month, our values are being reassessed for those who were in school, who were studying the Secret Doctrine, for those who was putting the foundation, the founding idea of going along this route of self-improvement. And what we were thinking of, we get right now. But this imagination we have should be reassessed, and that is the month right now we are making it in order to come to the point, the next point of the cross, the yellow horse, this law of the cosmic justice. There we're getting immortality. So the black rooster, his steps around the Kalachakra wheel. Right now, values are being reassessed. You should have noticed that because everything in the world is being reassessed, literally everything. In all peoples, in all nations, around the whole planet of Earth, it's happening, this reassessment. And next points of Nidanas, I started with the day, meaning that we start from the concentration point, and the black rooster is the concentration point, containing the whole combination of Nidanas, which are the following. The week of the white goat, that is the goat having the 3 gems, or the great Aum, or Atma Buddhi Manas. We can say it like that. We can say it's bearing the idea of spirit. This idea of spirit is always expressed by full heart, by love. I would like to say that at this plane, the very dew was concentrating the power that this white goat is bearing, and that is love revealed under the ray of Jupiter, with Jupiter or love being born in our heart. And Jupiter is the symbol of the heart. And the consequence of this heart is warmness born by life. This energy is the one of the week of the white goat. The white goat has its own triangle of spirit, being personal by the white boar and the white goat, and the white hare. And this triangle gets us back to Madame Blavatsky, the founder of the Theosophist Society, and Mr. Judge, who helped her, who was born in the year of the white boar. Here is the triangle of spirit that works this whole week. And we have an opportunity to be in 3 fires simultaneously. The first fire is the Aries, the second one, Leo, the third one, Sagittarius. These 3 fires, try to imagine that spirit is on fire. And we can only feel it inside, feel it as aspiration. This aspiration is a very important factor. This aspiration is guiding us towards the common good, and fires are lighting only in this direction. They are the beginning of evolution in 3 states of consciousness. The spirit is expressed this way by the Great Trinity, which is Father, Mother, and Son, or mind, consciousness, razum given to humanity. So everything is based on the rationality and the cosmos, is the symbol of this situation with Prometheus liberated by Hercules. Hercules liberated Prometheus, the fire given to humanity. It is a very important sector, the third one, because it is a human one. This fire is human fire. And then we already considered the month of the black hair, but please note this factor. The black hair is in the year, in the sector of Scorpio. And here is where the new person is being born. And the month of the black hair defines that without knowledge of spirit, no spiritual human being will be. I've already mentioned the way the spirit is getting on fire. And right now I get into the century of the white dragon, symbolizing the finalized wisdom. The masculine principle, because it's the first one in two Nidanas. The white snake and the white dragon. The white dragon is the first one, and the snake is the feminine aspect. Please imagine the masculine aspect of wisdom when it's complete. Then the greatest impetus is given. And the century of dragon white itself gives us impetus. We know that the century in its triangle has in its combination the white monkey and the white mouse. It's a very important moment. The masculine aspect is present everywhere, but this masculine aspect means that the mind is there. The mind is there, the rational aspect, but it's also in the feminine aspect, because the feminine aspect will be the one to implement, and wisdom, this impetus of wisdom, gives its powers. The flying snake, the flying one, the snake, the symbol, and the snake is the feminine symbol that works directly through feelings and knowledge. Knowledge of spirit works through feeling knowledge, and the dragon itself is a synthesis. Synthesis always gets impetus through wisdom for the rational mind, as the snake biting its own tail has this impetus at the whole round of circle in all Manvantara, and the century of the dragon means 100 years. The epoch, the era we live in is the one of Aquarius. You all know that the Aerofat of this sector is the blue monkey, and it means the pure, the beautiful thought, feeling of beauty, I would say, because that is the sector that brings up our souls, gets us ready to subtle and refined perception of reality, refines our psychical nature. And as we refine it, we get an opportunity to penetrate, that is the astral beginning necessary for the astral world. And then it can form the mental body, because with refining our feelings, our thoughts will be also caught in this refined manner. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In the system of preparation of the Secret Doctrine studies, there is a certain feeling. In the Theosophy school, for instance, there is such an experience. Before beginning the study of the Secret Doctrine or Dhyan stanzas, we should dwell into and take works by Madame Rerich or Rerich's Agni Yoga that starts to purify our minds and our souls. And that is the position that we are in, is where we are more aspired to light, purity. We are there in this condition, and that is when we can take the Secret Doctrine, and it reveals in a really different way. Today we will try with you to grab all key moments of the 9 Slokas, which we put into animation, into visual format, so that you follow discoveries that were made and things that were so important that were revealed at the Secret Doctrine, connections between slokas from 1 to 4. And this way you can hear this music that gives sound to our best revelations and manifestations. We'll try to get deeper into this state today, because every morning when we work in the certain rhyme and get into the system, study, penetrate, make discoveries, is when the Kala Chakra system helps us, so that we apply every energy, nidana, thought of the day, through things that will be revealed in the space today for us. We said that the Secret Doctrine has no limits, and notions included in Dhyan stanzas and the commentary by HPB have unlimited basis, and go there into this unlimited space where we can all give birth to our thoughts, combine them, and discover something for ourselves. Because without applying this knowledge to life, this knowledge will remain abstract, will be just intellectual production of thoughts. If we get deeper there, then disputes emerge. A certain person starts to show off opinions facing the other person, trying to prove that it is there. When it happens as creativity, there is no need to prove, because every thought is alive, every thought pronounced and felt by us will have movement towards self-realization, because every thought materializes earlier or later. Therefore, we'd better think of the higher of energies that connect us, and as we get higher to knowledge and start from that point, everything else dissolves. We have the focus, and it's so important in these 10 days, 10 for the whole world, in this point of choice everyone makes for truth or for something else, to be focused of this knowledge. And then the knowledge will bring us to real harmonization of our psychological state, when we can speak truth, when we can have this will and opportunity to explain, then it will materialize. Without it, the thought will be abstract, it will have no focus. And for this movement, we need concentration. And in order to get the concentration, we need the focus, so that this knowledge is given us for the third millennium, for the evolution of humanity. And our evolution will go by the system of this knowledge. And today is the time to give the scientific basis for this knowledge, because the Theosophist is the one who should reveal this knowledge, understand it, and put it into the social world, the society. It's high time for the Theosophist to stay on the peak of events. It's a normal person, active citizen, and the Theosophist brings this knowledge forward. It's fundamental knowledge. There is no need to be afraid. And this knowledge is brought forward by HPB, who was our compatriot. So we ask you for some patience and attention. We'll have this big presentation with the first stanza, all 9 slokas. Most welcome.
Stanza 1, Sloka 1. The eternal parent, wrapped in her ever-invisible robes, had slumbered once again for the 7 eternities. This idea of pre-eternal mother means before eternity, that is, eternity has not yet come, a description of the state before eternity, since eternity itself has a calculus that relates to Mayantara and to Pralaya. Giving birth doesn't mean that the birth has already occurred. It means power of potentiality, of further emergence. Had slumbered once again means not sleeping, means a state between sleeping and wakefulness. Space is the mother that gives birth beyond the influence and dependence of the presence or absence of the objective universe in it, since there is neither objective nor subjective universe, yet therefore there is nothing to depend on. The robes are not undifferentiated cosmic matter. They are not matter, but her spiritual essence, that is cause of future matter. Mulaprakriti is the primordial substance, vehicle of every psychic or mental phenomenon. According to the planes of being, the planes of mind and creativity, the physic one. The 7 eternities are the 7 periods of a period of time, equal to 7 periods of the Mayantara during Manakalpa. Let's have a look at this number. You see that? And in sum, it's 9. 9 is the symbol of spirit. Overall, you see, there are 5 numbers. Or rather 15. 15 figures altogether are 6 in sum, which means moving of spirit and matter. 0, or a circle, is limited by our understanding as the world. Therefore, these worlds, or 0, have their signification. 360 days of Brahma makes 9 sum. 360 nights of Brahma makes 9 is sum, and the year of Brahma is 360 days plus 360 nights, which means 720 means 9 in sum. We have 3 nines. Every figure, as Madame Blavatsky says, has to contain 7, which means 7x, or 7 to the power of x, where x is the subjective or objective world. Different cycles, inevitably multiples of 7. All the numbers of cycle makes up 9. We know just that. 9 per 7 means 63, which also adds up to 9. That is, that the key point of the first stanza of the first sloka is the spiritual nature of the 7 eternities, the beginning of each plane, the beginning of differentiation with 9, that is, the spirit is primary. It all starts with the spirit. Robes, what is it? What are we talking about here when we talk about 7 robes? What robes can we consider? The robes are described later in stanzas and in slokas, in the description of what has not yet happened, but which will be manifested when the cycle begins. The first robe is time. Everything begins when time begins, Mayantara, eternity, which is already estimated at these years, this number of years, which means when differentiation begins. The second robe, Agni. When time appears, then there is a hierarchy of beings who are the vehicles of the divine forces, breath of life, inhale and exhale. The third robe, universal mind, principle free, Mahat. First, there are Agni, then vehicles that are ready to accommodate the universal mind. The fourth robe, the 7 ways of end suffering, a very important robe, which is shape. The first 3, time, Agni, and mind, fall into the 4th state, and there is a 7-fold in the direction of the ways to bliss. That is, the path is marked out by the higher powers before the causes of suffering appear. This path is given to the highest thing given to the highest. The opposite is not possible. If only the lower ones had come first, that is the causes of suffering, the higher ones would not be able to manifest. Robe 5 is the great causes of suffering, potentiality. 5 means the symbol of man. The gods do not suffer, minerals do not suffer, man is the cause of suffering, potentially. Robe 6, father, mother, and son are one. 6 is heart, the single supreme essence, buddhi, wisdom, the state of unity between the male and female principle of their movement. There is no movement, nothing has started. There has been no division. The 6th state is the state of absolute wisdom. Robe 7, the sun who will awaken to the new will and travel on it. The beginning of the movement, when all the 7-fold is covered, the movement arises. The ray, symbol 7, the awakening of Mayantara will begin, and the countless incarnations of the 7th sun monad to wonder will begin. And now let's see how this idea of robes turns to characteristic phrases into a certain concept. Robes 1, 2 correspond to the future of race 1 and 2. Time and Agni almost in one state. Robe 3 is further race 3. Man becomes monadic. Robe 4 is the future race 4. Humanity has reached the ideal form. Matter has acquired the densest state, the flowering of human genius. On a circle of races 4 and 7, the race is in the same sector. Robe 4 includes 7 ways to end suffering. That is, first, the matter of the race 4 is revealed, and then the spirit as the race 7. The path in shape is the path of manifesting liberation, from materializing the spirit to spiritualizing the matter. Rope 5 is the future race 5. After Atlantis came the new race who were destined to give the basis for race 6. Rope 6 is the further future race 6. Father, mother, and son, the Buddhic race, namely the three principles must merge into 6, as Madame Rerich writes, to become wise. Rope 7 is the future race 7, the son who has awakened. A new cycle has begun. Race 7 ends the evolution of human and a new cycle begins. 7 does not exist, but the next first. This is the nature of the great journey, the eternal movement. 7, what is 7? It means 3 masculine and 4 feminine principles. What is, as we see, vertical and horizontal lines that correspond to masculine and feminine principles. 10 is a circle with diameter. We can talk about the symbol of 10. What is 3? We can divide the circle into 3 parts and we will see 3 worlds or 1000 and triangle inside. When it revealed in duality, there are 7,000 or 7 worlds, 2 triangles combined by 1 point in the middle. Conjunction of 3 and 4, conjunction of 2 lines makes a cross of mother, father, lines and numbers, and only then do time and space arise. The Pythagorean triangle, which is mentioned in this sloka, we can manifest it as 1, 2, 3, and 4, which makes 10. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, it gives 6, and 4 means 10. There is no 7 here. 7 is skipped or hidden, which means the ray is hidden, the movement is hidden. So the lines of the triangle are 4 or 3, which gives us 12. The 3 worlds are forms of the 4th dimension, a multiple of 7, the hidden inner potential movement, the ray. It is the 7th fold that implies the movement of the ray. Any of the 4 periods manifesting from the inside out or manifesting the inner movement of the ray becomes 7. That's how 1, 2, 3, 4 septenaries appear. The sum of 4 periods gives 7. 7, 5, 3, 10 gives 25 or 7, which is 7x. The sum of the 4 periods is also equal to 7. And this 7x means the rotation of the cross of line. It was in material, vertical, and horizontal lines. And then the eternal movement of the 7 from the outside out began. It became spiritual. Therefore, our individual inner transformation appears up to a certain period, up to a certain cycle when karma allows. And this is the great secret of each of us, or the secret of karma. The key in the first sloka is this transformation from vertical to horizontal, 7x, or the secret of the karma. Sloka number 2, time was not, for it lay asleep in the infinite bosom of duration. Time can be divided, duration cannot. Something must exist within time and space, and something must go beyond time and space. I wonder what it could be. Duration is the absolute, only eternity that is not relative. Time is finite. Duration is infinite. Duration is like space with no beginning or end. Space exists even there. There is nothing else. Can duration become an image of something or anything at all? Yes, it can. And this image is the space. of something with anything. If we take point A, something, and point B, anything, and if we connect them with point C, then we will have this duration overall from A to B. We get a circle. That's how we can answer to the question posed by Madame Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky joins this A, B, and C. The distance between A, B, C means duration. This is the duration, which means that presence is time, and the present is time, the future is duration, the past is duration as well. This is the state of Dhyan. It's the place with no past. The ego would remember it with regret and with no future. It is a state of bliss. Everything is present in the present moment. There is no idea and concept of time. Everything seems to be a vivid and bright dream. Nothing remains unchanged on earth. Madame Blavatsky gives a description of the concept of totality. Totalities are all changing in different states from the moment of appearance in the material form until the disappearance from the earth. These totalities exist eternally in the future. They pass gradually through matter to exist eternally in the past. That means that we have two eternities, the past and the future, that are duration. Only in one of them does everything have a true existence. This moment of passing from the past to the future is the presence or true existence. In the comments to Sloka 2, Madame Blavatsky gives the description of the Logos. In the Secret Doctrine, that the manifested Logos is born from the translated as the eternal Mother Father. This is the point which is everywhere and nowhere. My heart is Logos free. There is a synthesis of the 7 creative rays. It's universal and intelligent soul, the divine source of ideas that unites the ideal level and prototypes of all things in the objective and subjective world. Mahat is the first product of pradhana, the spiritual substance, the principle of the objective universe, but it is the third and it corresponds to Buddhi Manas. It has no dimensions, no boundaries or signs. This is the first unmanifested Logos, appears simultaneously with the line perpendicular to the diameter of the circle. The line is the mother, father. From it comes the 2 Logos, containing the free manifested world. Generation of Akasha is sound. Sound is also a word, a reflection of unspoken thought, the manifested. Mahat is the manifested source of ideas on the...
Heart is actually the one combining the 2 lines and giving space where the mind should exist. So heart first, the Logos, second one, third one, and the word. Actually, word should exist inside time and space, and what should go beyond it. Inside time and space, there is the heart or the mind sleeping or slumbering before the cycle. And what is beyond time and space? It's the mind. When the cycle comes and time starts, that is why heart or mind defines time, which is not on the duration, slumbering or being in calmness is there. Stanza 1, Sloka 3, universal mind was not, for there were no ahit contain it. The absolute mind exists forever, and its reflection and manifestation in Ahi, who being inhabitants of the highest level, must collectively reflect the universal mind at a first glimpse on Manvantara, because the absolute mind is there both during Pralaya and during Manvantara. HPB writes that the mind is the combination of the consciousness state. There is the consciousness from the big letter, which is the sum of its states, and this sum is combined which can be shown geometrically. There are only 3 definitions for that, and how these 3 can contain all that should be contained. The first sum total is thought, second one will, and third one feelings, and they are 3 combined give us the mind or the cosmic mind, Mahat, the third of the 3 once created, which is periodical manifestation of the internal mind. And these are 3 where HPB writes that here 1, first, and 3, first, second, and third levels. We can say that the first level is Arupa Ahi, the second one is Rupa Ahi, and it only starts to go closer to Rupa, the second state, and the starting point of the initial manifestation is Rupa. The eternal point are the 7 rays going from the first logos, threefold but united in its nature. Ahi go through all levels but start to get manifested only on the third one. At the highest level, they are in a Rupa state without any substance, without body. There is only breathing. Only on the second level, they are starting getting closer to Rupa form, or shape. At the third level, they Manasaputras who are born as humans. And then we can say that hierarchy of Dhyan Chohans as Ahi unite all levels. Ahi logoi starting the process of evolution in Pralaya. They are there on the first ray of universal mind that cannot be differentiated, and its appearance marks the first dawn of Manvantara. The absolute is the latent mind. Only its shadow can become differentiated in the collective totality of Dhyans, because the universal mind was not, because there was no container for it. Ahi is the law prior to periodical manifestation, and when the hour comes, the law begins to act, and Ahi is manifested. It is the law of laws, the absolute feature, and the production starts with Ahi and continues throughout Manvantara. The snake biting its own tail is the symbol of Manvantara. Ahi, or the current Manvantara, does not exist. These Ahi have already become planetary, solar, lunar, and reincarnated egos, and they are collective host of spiritual beings. They are a collective host of spiritual beings. Ahi are forces with no free will. They need to act simultaneously because the law to which they follow gives them an impetus to act. If Ahi is breathing, then it's inhalation and exhalation. And if we pronounce this word ah, we will inhale physically. And this inhalation is from beyond to the inside. There are the 3 planes. We can concentrate on one point of inhalation before disappears. And when the person breathes, between inhalation and exhalation, there is a pause. And if we are attentive, they do not follow simultaneously inhalation and exhalation, but there is a pause. And in the cosmic symbolism, that is the 3 images plane. First then it's all focused, got to the plane of 3 images, and then the second part, or exhalation, or he, from inside to the outside, and the universe is built as inhalation and exhalation, and here we see the all 7 planes of existence. Ahi is written with a line with a dash, and that is the symbol for that. The plane we're talking about is that high that it's bright. It's so bright, it even blinds us. There are 7 correlations of color we know. We all know them: red, orange, yellow, blue, violet, and green, and they correspond to the 7 planets: Sun, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn. And if there is some plane before that, we can consider the following idea. Ra is the god of sun, and then he went down, humanity became monad, and started to rebel as this mind going to our consciousness as revelation of this God as our minds. In Russian, it's razum. If symbolically we draw Z, then it combines above and below, combines beginning and the end, revealed and non-revealed, manifested and non-manifested, combination of cycles. And that is why it connects intelligence to the heart, lets us understand fully. By mind and by heart, we become rational, and the ray touches upon our consciousness and understanding begins. The 6th ray star is Ahi, Rupa, or understanding for human being, and Z, combining the two sides of two triangles, matter and spirit, gives us power to go forward. As Ahi is the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level, then the 3rd development has the 3 stages, because at the beginning, the person starts to reason, then reasoning works, and it's the lowest principle of our mind. Reasoning divides everything. Then we learn how to reflect, take different thoughts, learn how to combine them, and it's synthesis. And when there's this 3rd stage, then we begin to think. It's the highest point when we know the thought. The 3 levels correspond to development of thought, to reason, to reflect, and to think, as the 3 levels of Ahi. One more key moment is Ahi, that is there in the nature, being vehicles of the natural laws. First Ahi is the foundation that only then will be a vehicle. This foundation is not to delegate the natural laws, but to declare these laws. And Dhyan Chohans were initially there, and in their nature was to understand laws and not to make everybody follow their own laws. And only then these Ahi started to manifest it, not to act according to laws. It means that at the beginning, the point was to reveal the natural laws, and the higher forces asked for allowance of the lower forces, and the 7th ray star gave this basis, and it was the foundation. And after that, the Dhyan Chohans started following this wheel till our era. For heart follows the function of the universal mind, and here are the 7 revelations of the ray. The white ray, then 3, 7, and these 7 main colors are differentiated till forever. Stanza 1, Sloka 4, the 7 ways to bliss were not, the great causes of misery were not, for there was no one to produce them and to be ensnared by them. The 7 ways to bliss were not, but what are these 7 ways to bliss? Combination of the 7-fold from first one to 7-fold plane. The first one from plane of prototypes to plane of prototypes. Then from physical plane to the plane of prototypes, and from the physical plane to the united plane is the 4th one. So let us see this combination and where they come together, at which plane did they manifest their nature is the combination of all numbers in sum 84. What is 84? Is 12. Combination of the 7 is revealed in 12, but what can this 12 be? 12 nidanas, 12 causes. If nidanas are forces, then every force is the way we go from one state to another. And there are three functions nidana has: combination, expansion, and pushing. It combines the two opposite sides, expands, and gives impetus to the new proceeding. Let us see nidanas as they go from 1st to 12th and in the opposite direction from 12th to 1st. First one is jati, birth, tiger, Marana, or hair, bhava, karmic agent, dragon, upadana, creative cause of bhava, or snake, Krishna, love of horse, vedana, sensation of gods, partial sense of Dutch monkey, chadayatana, organs of sensation of rostanama, rupa, personalities, the dog, vijnana, perfect knowledge of every perceptible thing, boar, samskara, action, mouse, and vidya, ignorance, ox. The next one is where we consider it in another direction: avidya, samskara, vijnana, namarupa, chadayatana, sparsha, vedana, trishna, upadana, bhava, jaranarana, and jati. So we have the two lists and understand where they go over one another. These are the opposite nidanas, and please consider where in each of these nidanas you can see the number, that is number 13. 1 and 12, 13 tiger, 2 and 11, 13 hare, 3 and 10, 13 dragon, 4 and 9, 13 snake, 5 and 8, 13 horse, 6 and 7, 13 goat, 7 and 6, 13 monkey, etc., etc., and 12 and 1 ox is also 13. 13 means every nidana, and the sum 4 is revelation of the eternal inner state. When it's there, then it's the fourth dimension, or united vision, and it's a center of non-thinking. We have 4 pairs of nidanas that correspond to unity of opposites. The Secret Doctrine contains the description of 6. HPB writes, when the 6 sounds or the 6 steps sounded, the apostle was forbidden to write them down. There was an instruction to hide them until the moment of the expression of the 7th voice, when the time will be over. Therefore, 6 synthesis, a combination of 6 is 7, 7 is completion and transition to a new state. So let us consider the 6 pairs of nidanas, 6 opposites that probably open transition to a new state, to the 7th state, where the time does not have its power over person.
The first is a tiger, and which means that I do not live, that you are born. Now the second pair, the hair of knowledge and the mouse of accumulation, the accumulation of knowledge. We should accumulate knowledge, not something else. The third pair, which means the dragon of wisdom, and the boar, manifestation of wisdom, which is consciousness. The fourth pair, dog and personality. Mind and dog, personality affirming reason. Now, pair number 5, which is horse, law, and rooster, glory, glorious law, which is manifestation of law. Now, pair number 6, God, love, and monkey, harmony. Love brings harmony. Harmony is manifestation of love. So the equilibrium appears through the combination of 2 opposites, of 2 forces, centripetal and centrifugal. Cause and effect disappear. Who disappear that? It's kleshas, nidan, anger, malice, slain, ignorance, etc. Nidans are the moral factors generated by illusion. The feeling of separateness lies in the core of all evil, that is suffering. Suffering is in physical plane, and the cause of this suffering is in the material and educational plane. The ends of suffering is the plane of mind and creativity. The destruction of the causes of being and the approach to the great truth is the plane of the archetypes. The plane of spirit, triangle in a circle, is the great truth, where illusion disappears through the plan of prototypes, approaching the plane of spirit outside the forms. The sum of nidans is based on 4 truths. In sum of 3 plus 4, which is 7. The sum of nidanas is based on 4 truths, 7 ways to bliss, which did not exist. 4 truths are 4 planes of being, all of them. 7 paths to bliss. That is, there were no reason for suffering yet, no ways, no 4 planes. There was no differentiation or reflection, illusions. There was no separation, and all was still in unity. There was no dissection of material and spirit. The eternal spirit remains in inviolable integrity in all worlds and in its own. It is present where it is absent, and absent where it is present. The key idea is that there were no 7 ways, because the spirit is present where it is absent, and absent where it is present. Now moving to sloka number 5. Darkness alone filled the boundless all, for father, mother, and son were once more one, and the son had not awakened yet for the new will and his pilgrimage thereon. So the father, mother, and son are once more merged. Brahma, father, mother, son, spirit, soul, body at the same time. In the cosmophysical sense, it is the universe, the planetary spirit, and the human son. In the spiritual sense, it is a noble planetary chain, Earth, the deity. The previous objective universe has dissolved into its one primal and eternal cause, and is, so to say, held in solution in space to differentiate again and crystallize, which is the commencement of a new day or new activity of Brahma, the symbol of the universe. Let's look at the correspondence of this concept. The unknowable deity, planetary chain, Earth. The universe, the planetary spirit, the human son, father, mother, son, spirit, soul, and body. Their manifestation in this periodic manifestations on Earth actually happened during the wheels of Manvantaras. That is, everything that has a manifestation in the future is the manifestation of Brahma. Father, mother, and son are the 3 unmanifested logi. The 3 logi, the first one, the unmanifested father, the second, the semi-manifested mother. It is one of the key elements of this sloka. Why semi-manifested? Because she becomes manifested only when the son of the universe manifests. And the third appears, the universe son. Once again, they are united during the periodic pralaya. They merged into a single unmanifested entity and dissolved into each other. They become one more the cause of light that will be manifested by the movement of Fohat. The wheel is a symbol of the expression of the world or sphere. The great wheel is the completed period of our cycle of being, or Mahakalpa. That is the complete revolution of our special chain of 7 globes. The wheel is a symbol of time. Involution is the unfolding. Evolution, the collapse of life forms. Day is the highest point, night is the lowest point. Dawn is the first quarter of the cycle. Twilight is the last quarter of the cycle. It turns out that the wheel is the completion, the connection of the arcs of consciousness. That is, connection manifests itself when the arcs are connected, when the sun begins his journey or movement, which became this very consciousness. That is the wheel. He himself is the wheel when he begins to move. The wheel of the spirit is the ring of the heart. The ring of centers is the ring of actions. The ring of aspirations is the ring of love. And the ring of creativity is the ring of the cosmic magnet. That is, the unmanifested becomes manifested, and the arcs are connected into a ring or a wheel. The cosmos is not somewhere, but passes through the center. And all the lights, energies, colors, lights, all of that pass through the center of the person. And the person itself passes through this center, which is the center of the cosmos. So the light should give an impulse to the movement of the monad, and the human consciousness will expand and become the cosmic. That is, the center of the cosmos and the center of a person will become one, and a man is freed from manas, which leads to liberation from dense matter, destroying the qualities that chained man to a physical incarnation. These qualities are limitations of the mind. This is the key point of the fifth sloka, number 5. Now, sloka number 6. The 7 sublime lords and the 7 truths has ceased to be, and the universe, the sun of necessity, was immersed in paranishpana, to be outbreathed by that which is and yet is not was. 7 lords, 7 spirits are creators, Dhyan Chohans, and the great breath is one of the 3 symbols of the absolute. So there are the absolute, the abstract space, duration, which becomes time, great breath, which becomes movement. And when the great breath is striving, it is the divine breath. It is hailed the thought, which becomes the cosmos. That which is and at the same time is not is the great breath. Past time is present time, as well as the future, which has not yet been revealed. It is necessary to acquire paramatra, true self-consciousness, in order to understand. 7 truths correspond to 7 circles. 4 truths past, because we are in the 4th circle. The truth is a revealed secret. Since humanity lives through the 4th circle, the very course of evolution exposes this mystery. Circles 5, 6, and 7 are not past. The world has already had 4 Buddhas. They are the absolute wisdom of the divine mind. The 4th dimension is essentially the astral light. Dimensions 5, 6, and 7 correspond to the Atma, Buddhi, Manas, the place of great silence. That is the original triad with which everything began and with which the evolution of humanity will end. 7, Atma, 6, Buddhi, 5, higher Manas, 4, lower Manas, which develops into the 4th circle. We live through that. That is the 4th dimension, the development of the 4th body of the consciousness of Manas are the thread of Antakarana, the bridge to the higher triad. So at the beginning of the cycle 3 falls into 4, and at the end of the cycle 4 raises to the 3. So the matter is spiritualizes. Paranirvana, just as a perfect flower must cease to be a perfect flower and die. It is the idea of all these 3 flowers. Nirvana is a perfect fruit. The form is not the form. The light is complete in itself. 4 corresponds to the 4th plane. The key point of this sloka is secret knowledge. Let's try to consider what it is and why this particular sloka pays attention to this phenomenon. 8 means secret knowledge, the point between two zeros. Cause and effect, 0. Knowledge, the relationship between cause and effect. So we can correspond it as higher manas and lower manas. Dhyan Chohans act through higher manas. Manas leads the person to liberation from dense matter, destroying those qualities that have chained a person to the physical incarnation, like chains, and they bring us closer to the secret knowledge. Our universe is one of the infinite universes. The chain is a combination of 8. It's a link between cause and effect, which is a secret knowledge, which means knowledge is a synthesis, a combination of opposites, cause and effect, darkness and light. Knowledge is a link in the chain of eternity, in its endless movement. The secret knowledge is transmitted by the teacher to a student. This connection expands the consciousness and reveals the creative power of the only one that evolves. This is the key point of this sloka. There is one law that rules, and it rules the entire cosmos, the supreme will. The great mind creates on earth by the power of hierarchy. The driving force of the universe is the will to create, Fahat. Fahat appears in the aspect of cosmic electricity. The 4 spirits of fire indicate the action of the 4 differentiations of electrical and inner energy, which is formed from qualities of consciousness, initiative, understanding, coordination, and execution. The plane of archetypes, of initiatives, the plane of mind and creativity, understanding, material and formative plane corresponds to coordination, and the physical plane to execution. Therefore, the fulfillment of the instructions by teachers is the first impulse towards perfection, so that a person can get the recognition or coordination that leads to understanding. And then there is an idea or reason for the initiation, movement, impulse of the mind to create. This is the key element of sloka.
Stanza 1, Sloka 7. The causes of existence had been done away with, the visible that was, and the invisible that is, rested in the internal non-being, the one being. Being in Sloka 7, we can symbolically speak of the 7th state, the full completion before the first dawn of Manvantara. Because till Sloka 7, there were 6 slokas which were describing the state of pralaya, or progressive dissolution and pralaya of the thing that was once manifested in the previous Manvantara, but what it is. Matter, time, mind, causes of suffering, the 7 ways to end the suffering, mother, father, and son, when we're once more one, excluding possibility for the son to start his pilgrimage on the will. The 7 lords who had not yet pointed out the 7 truths, and the universe is solved, and the breathing itself stopped, and all the 7 states of the 6 slokas merge into the 7th one to be exhaled by what is not there in this period, but what will emerge with the start of Manvantara. The 6 states are indeed the past visible before the last 7 state of complete merge with the essence. Essence of 6 past visible is indeed being invisible. Being invisible means causes of existence, which are invisible, as the cause is eternally hidden and can never be manifested. Only its consequences can be manifested. State 7 of describing the 7th sloka is description of being invisible. Causes of existence, main of which is the desire to exist, is consequence of the nidanas and maya. So 6 and 1 disappeared. This very desire to exist, which was one consequence of nidanas and maya. Nidanas disappeared, maya disappeared, and accordingly desire to exist disappeared. But what is this desire emerging at the root cause of building the universe? That is the desire of higher order. That is the very desire of conscious life. It appears as a reflection of the divine thought and is detached and detected everywhere from the atom to the sun. When the divine thought aspired to the objective existence of the law for the universe to exist, that is its reflection. Let's see how the sixth and the seventh arise from the single state, which is the main driving force. The circle creates a point that expands to a triangle. Therefore, monad emerges manus and mind, that is a triangle in a circle. Six is objective and subjective states of consciousness. A cube is a symbol of the creation of the world. Six is the upper single point, is the seventh. Seventh is the absolute unconsciousness. Seventh is the spiritual force. It's impossible to imagine anything without a cause. Such an attempt leads the mind to the limit of consciousness, because in reality, that is actually the state where the mind has to come after all, when we try to follow the chain of causes and consequences in the reverse order. The expression of the single being is the original sun. It is exactly the cause that causes the wheel of time and space to roll further into eternity and lives beyond space and time. It has nothing to do with the final causes of what we call nidanas. There has never been the first kalpa and will never be the last kalpa in eternity. The form is a frozen desire. The desire of a higher order becomes a spiritualized form of the essence of the form, which is hidden in the non-form or invisible deity of Akasha. All things and beings come from the cosmic flow of Akasha, return into it. They've all finally dissolved, because the sound generates together the elements that generate ozone, the preparation of which goes beyond chemistry, but within the limits of alchemy. Buddhi is the carrier of Akasha. Akasha is Aditi, mother of gods, mother of the sun. All sounds are Akasha's Kamarupa, subjective forms of desires, both mental and physical. With the development of the pure desire of Buddhi and the universal principle of desire acting on the lower planes, the initiated or twice-born lords receive form. First, they refine their thirst with water, which is experience of the form in the four lower planes, which makes them once born. Then, at the initiation, they condense their thirst with wine. Wine is the spiritual essence of the Buddhi, or the creative energy of the form on the higher planes of existence. Thus, they acquire the ability to touch both planes at will. They connect them, they overcome all limitations of matter in the form of their lower planes of manifestations. They become liberated and forever clothed in the sun, the fiery body of Buddhi, the true garment of Nirmanakaya, and then the two new doors, the symbol of twice-born lords, open from the finite into infinite. Because the door is the symbol, is the higher thought, the higher state of evolution. Opening two doors means that higher aspirations will allow you to learn how to use the subtle forces of nature to a much greater extent than now. The opening of two doors is exactly the open eye of Dangma. The symbol of is a triangle with the top up. In the meantime, through symbols, we can know what is hidden and not manifested, because a symbol is an expression of a mental or thinking form of the inner plane. The approach of the inner plane gives Foha, Jiva, Prana, the sediment of primary matter, and begins to be animated by us, and consciousness is saturated with fire. The basis of psychic energy is primary matter and spatial fire, two doors that can be opened by the great souls of the Mahatma of humanity. The light will be shed from the open eye of Dangma, which is not affected by any Maya. Conclusion is that the full realization of the truth can come to a person only with development of the sixth sense of Buddhi, heart, intuition, divine mind, which will be possessed by representatives of the sixth wraith of humanity. This state corresponds to sectors of one sector of Kala Chakra. That is the Buddhi intuition. That is Aum, or the Taurus, where from 6th to 9th principles of Kala Chakra. totally 4. Black monkey, black rooster, or the voice of silence. 8 is intuition, or the person manifesting itself. Then 9 is revelation of mind, theosophy, and 9 is karma of spirit, or movement of spirit. From 6 to 9, these principles make 40. 40 in symbolism is completion, the number of a full cycle when the new birth occurs. 40 is transition between worlds. In 40 days, the human soul becomes free from dense matter. The pregnancy of a woman constitutes for 40 weeks. There were 40 columns of temples in many parts of earth. In Egypt, Osiris disappeared for 40 days. As all living things, he died, and after 40 days was reborn anew. The flood lasted for 40 days. The Jewish king David ruled for 40 years. Jesus Christ spent 40 days in the desert and alone in the tomb for 40 hours. Moses led his people through the desert for 40 years, and the quarantine during the plague lasted for 40 days. And for 40 days, ships arriving from countries where the plague was raging were not allowed to enter the city ports. At the age of 40, the Prophet Muhammad was called. In Islam, the number 40 symbolizes death. The Quran is read every 40 days. For 40 days after death, the human soul is able to return to earth. 40 is the inner memory, or the spirit understanding, inner light. If we make 40 divided, there will be 2, 2, 2, and 5. 2, 2, 2 are 4 dimensions of space, and tetragrammaton 40 is in the memory of the spirit, understanding in a light, which is the psychic energy, nirvana or cause. The eye of Dangma is potentiality, a creator in a person which manifests in the inner form of light. Light is actually consciousness, the only eternal reality. It's an individual who creates all planes of life, passing through them, and everything else is an illusion or reflection of this reality. When a person becomes a creator, he becomes conscious and manifests his individuality. Then he comes out of the reflection of reality from illusion and approaches to the truth, or eternal reality, on which no Maya has any influence, because the light has become a single being, or the seventh. The key movement of the seventh sloka is the seventh state. The light becomes the seventh one, memory of spirit, understanding of inner light. Stanza 1, sloka 8. Alone the one form of existence, stretched, boundless, infinite, causeless, and dreamless sleep, and life pulsated unconscious in universal space throughout that all-presence which is sensed by the opened eye of Dangma. Let us try to focus on key moments about state of dreamless sleep, pulsation of life in all presence, which is sensed by the opened eye of Dangma. The eye of Dangma is the eye of Shiva, destruction of for the sake of creation, continuous reincarnation. The third one is salvation from duality and opposite. The all-presence in the single form of existence where the life pulsates unconscious, which can only be sensed by the opened eye of Dangma. Dangma means a purified soul, Mahatma. His opened eye is an ability of spiritual intuition through which he gets direct and credible knowledge. Therefore, there's a state of space in which spiritual intuition can get this credible knowledge. What is this state actually? The Secret Doctrine relates this idea to metaphysics and says, as a premise, the single form of existence is a base and source of ideas. Prabhavatvaya is the plane where all started and where everything dissolves. That is actually the plane of prototypes. Let us fill this plane of being with what is there at the current period. At this plane, there is homogeneity, from which heterogeneity develops. The esoteric philosophy sees the state of space as this pralaya stage, as the ideal spirit of cause. At this plane there is Quran. Quran is unmanifested potential cause of pretext that will once take a form of visible effect of the material universal cause. Basis and root of this cause is Quran is actually the single causeless cause. The eye of Dangma does not see but senses. So the eye sees, but the essence senses. That is, Dangma does not sense his own essence. It feels all presence that manifests from unmanifested plane to the physical plane. And if there was no physical plane yet, like person was not, then was no consciousness, and therefore unconscious life was pulsating, then Dangma has nothing to sense and has not yet opened his eye. From the plane of the unmanifested to the physical plane, there are 7 states of mind. Each of these states is a special part of the mind that comes into action on another plane of its being. Dreamless sleep is a gap that seems to be the state is not held by memory in the waking state. What is this gap, which is actually complete completeness, is the cause of light and darkness. What is actually this gap? This gap, I will repeat, is the cause of eye of darkness, of light and darkness. And light and darkness are not opposite to each other. Light is the first potentiality, getting us away from the state of light, becoming a force, the first tremor of undifferentiated matter, transforming it into objective matter and into a plane from which manifestation will begin. The Secret Doctrine says the darkness makes light visible. Light is the first glimmer that appears in undifferentiated matter, throws light into the sphere of objectivity and at the level from which manifestation begins. And this first glimpse is the gap of consciousness, the gap of consciousness mentioned in the Slokas state of space and mind being in Akasha. Akasha, which is filled with the subtlest energies, is the space filled up to the boundlessness, therefore is an apparent gap of consciousness. Practically, this is a state of equilibrium and apparent emptiness, shunyata, which is complete completeness, in which the gap of consciousness appears. In Mahayana, Akasha is beyond existence and non-existence and is associated with its concept of shunyata. The comprehension of prajna paramita is revealed as an absolutely continuous and intuitive process that does not include any reasoning and discourse. And this process, which excludes reasoning and discourse, is on the plane of archetypes. And that is where ability of spiritual intuition arises, through which the opened eye of Dangma receives direct and credible knowledge. Akasha carries the memory of the spiritual ego. What is this way that determines the appearance of the memory of the spiritual ego, at which spiritual intuition arises in the eye of Dangma senses? In Agni Yoga, the fiery world, a Mesereric says that the essence of inspiration depends on the potential of the spirit. The desire to merge with the cosmos leads the spirit to the meaning of unity in the entire universe. All light carriers are the watch to this unity, and the way is like cycles that are set by 3 reasons. First is transmutation of old accumulations, second one is clearing of the space, and the third one is injection of a great future. So the third state of the third cycle is the injection of the great future, is Akasha, the state of complete completeness, until the moment when this injection of the great future begins to manifest, when every vibration, thought, it will be imprinted in Akasha, which keeps of the memory of the spirit. And then equilibrium arises. With equilibrium, it's possible to develop any speed, and any construction develops precisely where an equilibrium is. Equilibrium can be achieved only by higher radiations. It's equilibrium that opens the gate, and the eye of Dangma fills the all presence. Higher radiations eliminate the composition of human thinking. The composition of thinking is a state where a person has no actions for the common good, no work for the common goal. There is a mismatch of energies. He touches, acceptance and transmutation of these following energies. Instead of giving birth to new combinations, they destroy a person, and the first thing that happens to that person is that he stops thinking. The center of the solar plexus gives balance to all bodies. Interbeing of all centers of all bodies is compared to spiral rings that get united in the center of the solar plexus. Rotation of the solar plexus center is the injection of psychic energy. The radiations of the solar plexus pass through all centers, and rotating their rays pierce all the centers, giving nutrition and unification with one fiery energy. The pure white ray of the divine sun was shining through the newly opened doors and was not refracted, falling apart. when there was no falling apart, no refraction, no shunyata, there is shunyata, a state of transcendental wisdom, the mind. Balance arises, karma disappears, the highest speed of sound arises, which finally becomes the cause of sound, and the eye of Dangma can be opened from the plane of prototypes, where Akasha reigns. The light of consciousness does not merge with anything and does not connect, but penetrates everything by itself, releasing fire, and then it's possible to extract information from any plane, from nirvana, which can be attained in the plane of matter, because the love is the only attractive force and a guide to the inner chambers, the path from which to infinity. Love leads to mind, to the gate of learning, where we see direct and credible knowledge with no reason and discourse included. By the force of love, prana makes the way easy and shining, defining the movements and the way as beamy and fast towards opening of the eye of Dangma, the key moment of the 8th sloka. And we proceed to the first stanza, sloka 9. But where was Dangma when the universal Alaya was in Paramatma and the great will of Anuppadaka? So the first question continues the description of the state of space in the entire first sloka. Where was the eye of Dangma when Alaya of the universe was in Paramatma and the great will was in Anuppadaka? In order to answer this question, HPB gives description of this space, which corresponds to the period where the eye of Dangma was in state of readiness to open. That is Alaya, the soul of universe, the one state of the universe that was in the absolute state of unity, because Allah is anima mundi, the soul is the basis of everything. Soul, Alaya, although eternal and unchanging, is unattainable by either man or cosmic gods, changes during the active period, and is included in our souls. It is also pradhana, the beginning word, the subtlest prakriti. It's undivided cause, and also the effect, pradhana and prakriti. The Brahma is unattainable. It does not begin the evolution, does not create, but also only reveals different aspects, prakriti, pradhana aspect, and the key, the final, can not only attain the infinite, but also apply his experience to it. There are also notion of paramarthasati that contains paramartha, or self-consciousness, self-analyzing reflection. It contains two words, satya, parama, above everything, artha, comprehension, and we can see the opposites. And the opposite is samvriti, satya, opposite of the absolute reality, actuality, relative truth only. These are false conclusions, samvriti, opposite of the absolute truth, or paramartha, satya.
Samvriti is the false idea, the birth of illusion, Maya. No arhat, no bhikshu can achieve absolute knowledge before he unites in paranirvana. Parakalpita and Paratantra are his two great enemies. Who are these two enemies of absolute knowledge? The first one is the delusion generated by those who cannot realize the emptiness. And the second, Paratantra, is that which exists only due to a dependent or casual relation, and which must disappear as soon as the cause from which it originated is removed. Alaya means world soul. It's identical with Akasha. It's a mystical meaning with Mulaprakriti in essence. So world, or rather spirit, soul, and matter are guides. A person is deprived of the opportunity to lift the veil, enveloping the greatness of the absolute. Only a liberated spirit can faintly comprehend the nature of the source, where it came from and where it must eternally return. To the awakened Mahat, already revealed in the phenomenal world, spirit and matter are the two primary aspects of one without a second. Anuppadaka without parents or without ancestors is a mystical definition that has several meanings in our philosophy. This designation usually refers to celestial beings, Dhyan Chohans, Dhyan Buddhas. These beings mystically correspond to the human Buddhas, known as the Manushi Buddhas, who were later designated in the same way as Anuppadaka, from the moment their personality has emerged in the combined 6th and 7th principles. Anuppadaka hierarchy, the universal spirit soul, and the lowest level of Manushi Buddha. But even the spiritual person is Anuppadaka in the latent state. Without parents, without ancestors, the hidden Lord cannot have parents, since he is self-existent. The universe in its formless, eternal, or absolute state, the expression, the great wheel, was Anuppadaka, since the spirit has no parents, for it is one with the absolute. Karma is the law of retribution, cause and effect, moral causality, because after any universe, until they pass into legal consequences and they are erased by them. These causes, not extinguished during the life of their parent personality, will follow their reincarnated ego and overtake it in a subsequent incarnation until the harmony between effects and causes is fully established. Dharma means sacred law. Dhyan Chohans, lords of light, highest gods, divine minds who are entrusted with the supervision of the cosmos. Dhyani Buddha having a compassionate heart. Dhyani Pasha, the robe of Dhyani. Dhyani is one of the 6 parameters in Buddhism, a state of immersion that elevates much higher than the plane of sensory perception. Contemplation of 6 stages differentiate from personal ego. Dangma is enlightened soul who has achieved perfect wisdom. The plan of mind and creativity is Dhyan Chohans. Dhyan Buddhas means compassionate heart. Bodhisattva is one of those essence who has become the mind, or Bodhi, one who needs only the incarnation. Bodhisattva, the name given to the sons of the Dhyan Buddhas. Sattva means understanding, understanding of the divine knowledge. Sat is a single eternally existing reality, and there is triple symbolism in 7 vowels and 3 vowel and 7 vowel. The 1 syllable means the one, the 3 syllable, the second, the 7 syllable, the triangle, or the ray of on the material plane. Mahat is universal mind, cognition. Before manifesting as Brahma, it is revealed as Vishnu. Therefore, it is in several aspects. Mahat means manas, that was born, and is called egoism, that is born as self-feeling I. The 9 creation, when Mahat develops into self-consciousness, it takes the name of egoism. Manas is in man actually becomes the self, but as long as Mahat is in equilibrium, there is no creations yet. In equilibrium, it is Alaya, the 3 states, spirit, soul, and body, and unity. Agni Yoga is the highest equilibrium that leads to global ratio, that is balancing and this disagreement between the centers and balanced. The point, the cross at the plane of prototypes means Jesus Christ, the light, the beginning, and use cycle, the beginning of the journey, start, when merging of allies gives the force of moving to another plan. So the Alaya merge itself actually to transfer to another plane. Sloka 9 describes the unmanifested state of the 9th creation. Therefore, it is in the single state which are ready to give the impetus and the start to a new cycle of the movement. What is 9? It's 7 hidden places of being and other 2 that are in external space. Here, the sublimity preserves and the cycle comes. So where was Dangma when Alaya of the universe was in Paramatra and the great wheel was Anuppadaka? Dangma was in the place where there were the builders. Dangma was in the place where there is silence. So stanza first is the forming of the silence, the eternal parent, and the second sloka was the time was not free, universal mind was not, there was no ahi to contain it. Number 4, the 7 ways to breathe there not. 5th, darkness alone filled the boundless all, for father, mother, and son were one small one. 6th, the 7 sublime lords and the 7 truths has ceased to be, and the universe was immersed in Parinishpana. 7, this is the causes of existence had been done away with. The visible that was and the invisible that is rested in eternal non-being, the one being. 8, alone the form of existence stretched boundless, infinite, causeless, dreamless sleep. Life pulsated in consciousness in universal space throughout that all. 9, but there was the Dangma when the Alaya of the universe was in Paramatra and the great wheel was Anuppadaka. All of that is about the reason of the sound, is the future of eternal aura. Stanza first begins to collect this potential space. There was not yet a breath, yet the breath, inhalation and exhalation stopped. There was no vibration to the lives or atoms that make it up. Laya centers of various levels passing from one manvantara to another. A creator is being created who will breathe into us the life from those cells we originated. The sound traveling along its subterranean chain draws a beautiful pattern, smoothly turning into spiral curls. The sound travels in the most powerful spaces of varying subtly dimensions, so it is almost impossible to convey its trajectory on a plane, although it is possible to create a projection. As long as there is no plane to convey the trajectory of the sound, it is impossible, but it is possible to create a projection. All of us, being forms, have the ability to recognize the first sound. Stanza 1 is how a projection of the first sound is created. Thank you so much. This is how we overview that dynamically. We try to overview all key elements of all the slokas of stanza 1. And today's session was dedicated to the overview with great steps of all of 9 slokas. We tried to connect them. The key element that we can have here from this huge amount of information is that the state of light or the state of collection of the cause of sound that will give us the correlation of light into different colors and the sound into movement, into the first word. This is what we can gather here. It's causeless cause. And that is something that is expressed in the first stanza. A creator is created here. So, a creator of the cosmos or the human evolution. That's how, considering these slokas and stanzas, we can feel the future. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you will understand these key elements and that you will be able to capture this idea and develop it in your creativity, to manifest your own ideas here, to find your own discoveries discoveries that will manifest your reasons of potentiality, spiritual as well as creative. In that case, we will be able to talk about scientific system that is created in this period of time, and it will have a certain foundation of differentiation. It will manifest in the combination of philosophy, religion, science, because the great circle is a synthesis of religion, philosophy, and science. It is our future evolution. Now, Mr. Yari, I would like to give the floor to you. Thank you so much for your attention. It's kind of a thesis that we considered here today. It's a huge work. It's this overview, this work with materials that we have of the first stanza. It's very interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, the head of Theosophical School. Thank you so much to all the members of our school who join our sessions every week on Saturdays, and we gather this material. Thank you, Mr. Bakanov, who provided us with the system that we can build on. We can build on according to our comprehension, because Kala Chakra system has no limits, as the whole Secret Doctrine, so complex in terms of systematic understanding. It provides us with new impulses, which are very important for practical application of the knowledge that we gather from the first understanding of the Secret Doctrine. It is important to apply them in our everyday life for all of us, for every consciousness. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you very much to our interpreters, Tatiana and Alexandra. Thank you for surviving this flow of notions and the circle of trajectories that we talked about. We don't say goodbye because we have another meeting on the 12th of May. We have another online class. We will look through the second stanza, first sloka. And April 30th, we will have international guests and amazing scientists on April 30, we will continue our study of the Secret Doctrine. In conclusion, I would like to add that everything that we talked today disappeared, actually. It was not, because our consciousness has to adapt to that was not. There was no causes. There were no causes for impulses, for creation. Thank you so much and goodbye. And yes, the first stanza corresponds to unmanifested state that only will be. But in order to familiarize yourself with that, we have to study this system. What we had not, but we perceive it through that will be when it begins. When the cycle of Manvantara starts, we will get it. Your questions are welcome. We stay in contact. We will happy to answer your questions. Stay with us in our rhythm in order to understand them, to understand the fundamental concept of the Secret Doctrine. Goodbye, and thank you so much.